Senator, you went viral this weekend for pushing back on the comments made by your colleague in the Senate, Tammy Duckworth. I'm going to play that piece of tape here. Actually, I'm going to first play the Tammy Duckworth tape and then have you respond to it here live. Let's play cut 10 to set the table, please.
Now, you and Tulsi Gabbard are both veterans. You served with her in the House. What do you think of her?
Well, I think she's compromised. I think by going to Syria and basically backing, a brutal dictator there. Russian-controlled media called her a Russian asset. So I do think that we have a real deep concern whether or not she's a compromised person. And frankly, the U.S. intelligence committee, the U.S. intelligence community has identified her as having troubling relationships with America's foes. And so my worry is that she couldn't pass a background check.
Senator, your reaction to that?
No, it's ridiculous. As I said right after her, it's absurd to say that. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard is a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army. She commands the reserve unit in Oklahoma and Missouri. She since then has been promoted. I'm pretty sure if she was compromised, the United States Army wouldn't have her as lieutenant colonel. And Tammy Duckworth is being extremely dangerous, and I mean that, extremely dangerous, and should redact those words for even saying that, because she knows better. She's a veteran herself. She's served in the Army. She understands the vetting that takes place even before you get promoted, especially to an 05, which is a lieutenant colonel. And they serve together. And so she's just a pundit of the Democrat Party by going out and saying these dangerous words because she wants to instill fear in the American people because of their hatred to Donald Trump.
Yeah, and so Senator, I want to take a step back here. There's typically in the U.S. Senate, obviously advise and consent, but there is this code that you will not speak negatively publicly against another colleague. At least it's an unspoken rule, right? Now, Tulsi is not a member of the Senate, but shouldn't there be similar sort of respect for fellow veterans and people that are currently serving? I mean, I find this to be a repulsive comment by Senator Duckworth, and with no basis whatsoever. I'm sure you agree in theme, Senator, here.
Well, it's even deeper. It is kind of an unwritten code that you walk on very dangerous ground, or what I say hot coals, when you're talking about a fellow member of or a colleague of yours. But it's even deeper when you start talking about a veteran. And yes. and Tulsi's not a veteran yet because she's still in the Army. But when you start talking about Tammy Duckworth and talking about someone that is still in uniform, that is I would say you're not just walking on hot coals. You're completely on fire and out of touch, because there's a lot of men and women in uniform that's going to push back on you immediately because of what you're saying. And it's absurd. And let me reiterate this, Charlie. It's absurd for her to say that. Tulsi is a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army, and you're saying she's a Russian asset? So you're saying that the United States Army is corrupt? You're saying that those that promoted her promoted a Russian asset and knowingly is letting her serve and command the reserve unit in Tulsa or in Oklahoma and Missouri? You're saying that the United States Army doesn't know what you know. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, and so I want to just once and for all, Senator, kind of clear the air on this. The New York Times just published a ridiculous piece a couple days ago saying that Tulsi Gabbard was a Putin propagandist and essentially a Russian asset. Not until 6 paragraphs down do they finally fess up and admit there's absolutely zero evidence she ever collaborated with Russian intelligence. And so you have to ask the question, where does this come from? This comes from her having different foreign policy views, which is part of the country. You can have disagreements on certain stuff. I certainly am against what's happening in Ukraine. People can disagree, fine. However, we're getting to really dangerous territory where you can call someone a Putin propagandist. I thought the U.S. Senate would take advise and consent, at least with a heavier weight, right, Senator, than engaging in this anonymous throwing of accusations. And so can we clear the air here? What are the accusations against Tulsi Gabbard, and what is the truth, Senator, to the best of your knowledge?
Well, the accusations the same thing they accuse President Trump of being, right? The Russian collusion, Russian asset. He's compromised because he has business, because he conversates with Putin. It's the same storybook that the Democrats used on Oregon, and you said that best. I mean, either you're racist, you're misogynist, or you're a Russian spy. That's kind of like their playbook that they continue to go over and over and over again with. And so what people are complaining about is I think it was 2019, maybe 2020. I can't remember which year it was. But Tulsi went to Syria to, on her own. She was a member of Congress when she did that. She took a Codell over to Jordan. She entered into Syria, and she was having a meeting with Assad at the time. She got intercepted. It shouldn't have took place, but she did. And then there was a video released of her. This didn't mean that she was an asset. She did get compromised for a second. And I'm not herself didn't get compromised, but her trip got compromised because the media that took a picture of her and then took a video of her and released it to the public. It was never supposed to be public. And now they're all of a sudden saying that she was a Russian asset. Remember, she was in the United States Army at that time too. And there was a small investigation that was done. It was completely found baseless and completely pushed out. Since then, she's ran for president of the United States, and she's been promoted twice. So I really, there's nothing there. There is nothing that they can even talk about other than their hatred towards Tulsi because she left the Democrat woke movement and said that this isn't the Democrat Party that she once was part of, and now she's part of the Republican Party, and that's really what it comes down to.